Hi, I'm Hannah from eBay UK. If you're new to the channel, this is eBay's official channel where you can find tutorials, hints, tips, and news about selling on eBay as a business. Now, today I'm joined by Adam, who's going to be sharing his top tips as an experienced eBay seller. Hello, Adam.
Hi there.
Hi, I'm really pleased you could join us, even though it's remote.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll make do with this.
So I think let's just start off by talking a little bit about you, how you got started selling on eBay and the kind of things that you sell.
Well, basically, I got started sort of professionally selling on eBay as a business in 2015. And I kind of sold board games, toys, books, things like that for probably the first 6 to 12 months. And then I expanded into what I kind of mainly do now, which is ceramics, antiques, collectibles, all that sort of stuff.
Great. Sounds like a really wide range of things that you're selling.
Yeah, definitely. I have I'm probably more of a generalist seller, so I'd sell a wide range of items. I'd say mainly antiques these days, but I still also do toys, games, books, electronics, just loads of different things really. So it's really quite interesting to sell such a wide variety of items.
And are most of the items that you sell one-offs, or do you tend to have multiples of things?
Most of them are one-offs. There are a few listings that I currently have that are multiple quantity listings as well. But generally, a lot of the items being antiques and collectibles, they're always kind of one-off items.
Okay. So I would imagine with those kind of items, you've had to get pretty good at creating listings and figuring out what's going to get that item sold.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just about sort of research and keywords and just trying to structure a title well and obviously pad it out in the best way I possibly can to help really get those sales and stimulate some activity on the account.
Fantastic. So we want to hear your top tips for selling on eBay. What would you recommend to someone?
Well, first off, photographs. So I always tend to do a white background for my photographs, try and not get any glare on the photographs or any shadowing at all, because that might detract from the overall appearance of the photos. And I feel that a white background is better than something like a green background or a black background. I've had a green background in the past and it hadn't really worked that well for me. I didn't feel it was that professional, but with the white background, it's really, really good. The only thing that I would say something that doesn't work on a white background is glassware. So things like glassware, obviously, if you've got a white background with glass, it's not going to show up that well because it's quite see-through. So a black background works better with glass, but for everything else, I would say a white background is where you want to be, and it is very, very professional to do that.
Great, some interesting things there. And for things like glass, do you find that you need to be dealing with like reflections and things like that when you photograph?
Yeah, there is slight reflections in the glass, and also some ceramics as well. If they've got a glaze on them, if they've got a gloss glaze, then that can be a bit of an issue. Sometimes I just have to kind of let it be and just do the photo as is. But if I can get around it anyway, then I'll try and do that as well. But with things ceramics such as like with a matte glaze, so more of a not necessarily a glossy glaze or something that's reflective, they're a lot easier to deal with as well because you don't get that glare.
And have you got any tips around that on how you'd light it to minimize the glare on it?
So to reduce glare, I would say obviously using filtered lighting is always good, because if you use a filtered light, then it's not going to, the light exposure isn't going to be too powerful on the item, and therefore that may reduce the glare. Also, if you have a light with a dimmer or anything like that, then that might be good as well, because obviously that can actually reduce the glare because you've not got as powerful lighting on those items.
Okay, good tips. I do a bit of selling myself, so I don't have a professional setup myself when I'm selling my own items, but I can see how important it is to get those kind of items shot in a way that you're not getting reflections, you're not showing things in your listing that you don't want shown. But also I think the tip about shooting glassware slightly differently if it's see-through is good, so that you're getting a good representation of the item itself, and so you're not getting complaints from people saying, oh, I thought it was green, or I thought it was pink, or something like that.
Yeah, and that's the other thing really with if you're doing different coloured backgrounds, sometimes the actual lighting can sort of make the item shine the sort of the same colour as the background.
Mm-hmm.
That just can basically make problems further down the road as well. So yeah, it's something with a white background. I do feel that's kind of the best one to go for, because you won't get any of that generally. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think also it helps avoid any confusion where people might have seen a prop in the photo and thought they're getting that as well.
Yes, I've looked at a few different listings with these props in, and it's never really appealed to me that much, because I've had that exact thought actually. I thought, how do we know, how does the customer know what they are getting in that photograph if there's different props all the way around? I know people like to do them for because they feel it's more sort of, I suppose with vintage items, it feels more human, or maybe just feels more kind of the item is at home in that circumstance. If they've maybe got a few different props on there as well, or maybe even the the background of a brick wall or something like that. But sometimes it depends on the item, but a lot of items are just fairly at home on a white background, really.
Well, it also sounds like you've done a lot of testing and research yourself on what works well. So it sounds like for you, for your products and the items you sell, a white background, and in some cases a black background when it suits.
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
just my opinion of it on it. I've been selling for almost 4 years now, so I've gone through different backgrounds, I've explored different avenues, and that's what appeals to me the most.
Yeah, and it's also what eBay recommend as well, to keep it
Yeah.
really clean and clear and a white background, because then you can see the product clearly when you're looking at it as a buyer. And also when we send information to search engines as well, it helps if the photo is compatible with their rules and regulations about showing it on shopping areas of their site. Now, I know you had another tip as well that you wanted to share.
Yes, and that's around keywords of items. So I've got a couple of examples for this here. So I'll just hold up this first item here, which is a piece of fat lava. Now, this was produced in the 60s and 70s. And, a lot of people, if they sell antiques and collectibles, will be familiar with this. And essentially, listing an item like this, you can actually find them on Completed and Sold quite easily. And, that obviously makes it a little bit easier to keyword and to title. But also, with something like this, what I would do is look at the item and see, first off, is there anything I notice straight away that I can use in the keywords? So, for example, I know it's brown, so that's something I would put in the keywords in the title. I would always use the word vintage, just, because it's 60s or 70s. I would also put in the title fat lava, because that's its nickname. But also, its kind of more official name is West German ceramics. So I would obviously put that in the title as well. So something would be like vintage fat lava West German ceramics, brown ridged tall vase, something like that. And then maybe I'd add a couple of other little pieces to the title as well. Maybe the height of the piece, which is 40 centimeters for this one. So yeah, that's that one there anyway.
So it sounds like you really need to think about not only describing it well, but also thinking about the kind of things people might type in when they're searching for it.
Yes, definitely. And it's just about kind of almost getting in the mind of a buyer a little bit and thinking, how, if I was a buyer of this item, what would I type in to obviously find the item I'm looking for? And obviously something like a nickname of an item, they're going to want to type that in. So if an item that you're selling or you're going to be listing actually has a nickname associated to it, then you may want to obviously put that in the title. Also, just the general name of the item, and also just things that actually sort of describe maybe the character of the item, if it's an antique or collectible. Even just simple things, maybe the color, stuff like that. It might not necessarily pick up in search majorly. However, it's something good to put in the title at least as well, to let buyers know. And also that can be reflected in the photos as well.
Yeah, so it's much more than saying brown stripy vase.
Yeah, I mean, I would say you wouldn't get a sale for that in a very long time, and it would end up just sitting on the platform for a long time, because people are going to be searching fat lava or West German ceramics, or just something along those lines, or 60. I mean, you could even put 60s, 70s in there as well in the title, because that's obviously the period in which it's made. But people generally, for those vases, they're going to be typing in either West German pottery or West German ceramics or fat lava. They're the two things that they're going to type in to pull something up like that. And then they may put in there maybe red fat lava vase or something like that. So there are ways you can structure your title to kind of get the most out of those buyers' searches.
And I think the other thing to think about is it needs to be accurate for the item that you're selling. And if it isn't that type of product, don't describe it as being like it to try and trick the search algorithms. There's actually, we call it at eBay keyword spamming, where people put in words that are like different brand names to what you're actually selling, or they'll be like something like that. And one of the reasons that we have a policy about not allowing keyword spamming is so that it's really clear to the person who's buying it what it actually is, that they haven't typed in one brand name and just been looking on their mobile phone and said, oh, that looks good, I'll have that, and then it turns up and it's something different. So yeah, I think some really good tips in there about thinking about it from a buyer's point of view, the type of things that they might put in, all the variation, but also making sure that that description is actually accurate. And you've got a lot of characters that you can use for the title, so use them well and make sure that you're not wasting them on other words that people aren't going to search for. I think one of the words you picked out on there was vintage. That's one that people could type in, but it also can help to catch the eye when people are looking at the search results.
Yeah.
I sometimes see people wasting characters on things like wow or beautiful or things like that. That if you've got the characters spare, then it's entirely your decision on what you put on it and describe it as, but people are unlikely to be searching for wow or beautiful unless that is a brand name.
Yeah, I'd actually agree with that. And I also see people put in look as well. And I just feel, does it really add that much? And as you said, if you've got the character spare, I do sometimes put things like beautiful in the title. It's only very infrequently, but if I really can't think of any keywords for that title, and I at least want to put something in there, I'll put something like that in there. But yeah, there are definitely better keywords for different items that you can utilize other than those ones.
Great. And it also sounds like with the photos, you've been doing a lot of testing on what works and what doesn't. And I guess because every item that you're listing is something new, every time you create a listing, you're learning about what's working and what's not.
Yeah.
So I think those are really useful tips.
Yeah, thank you very much anyway.
And so I know you have a YouTube channel, don't you, where people can follow your journey as an eBay seller.
Yes.
Can you just tell me again what that one's called?
That's Adz Resells, my YouTube channel. I've had it for pretty much the same amount of time as I've been doing reselling. And yeah, I really enjoy doing YouTube alongside eBay as well.
Great. So I guess people could look back 4 years and see how you got started. I'm sure there's some tips in there.
They could see the progression of my journey from being sort of very amateurish at eBay to now being a little bit more professional at it.
Great. Okay, well, we'll put the link in the description for people if they want to have a look at your channel and check you out.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Adam.
All right then. Bye.
Bye-bye. Find out when new tips are published, subscribe to our channel on YouTube and click the bell icon to enable notifications. YouTube will let you know as soon as new videos are available.